Hello and welcome to our next video. In this lesson, we're just going to set up our web config for release so that when we do ultimately push this out, we will end up having a connection that is usable at App Harbor or wherever we're hosting, and that it will work. So let's go down to our web config file here. And we notice that we have our default connection and our contact web context. So I'm going to grab this contact web context and I'm going to copy that. And really, when I go into my release here, I'm probably going to end up getting rid of most of what I have. So I'm just going to bring this here for the contact web context. Our connection string is going to be completely different because we won't be using a file there, but our provider name will be the same. So what I'm going to do for the connection string is I'm going to grab this connection string right here, and I'm going to ultimately point to the same database that I am already using on App Harbor. So you can see it's going to be exactly identical. And I want to do the same XDT transform replace. And what that's going to do now is wire up my web config on release to make sure that my contact web context can create the table as it needs to and seed the data as it needs to on the App Harbor database. So the one thing to be careful here is because I have two different connection strings pointing to the same database, you really probably wouldn't want to do this in the real world specifically, maybe, because if you try to have migrations that create the same table name, you could get a really big conflict. So in the real world, we'd probably be using multiple databases if we were going to use multiple contexts. But since I'm doing this all on App Harbor, rather than creating a whole new app, getting a database on that, and only using the database, which I could do, I'm just going to go ahead and push it both into the same database. So hopefully that won't run into any conflicts and we should be okay. But that should give us our web config for release in order that when we do push this out to App Harbor, it should be able to run the migrations just like it was connected to its own database. So that wraps up our video on setting the web config release in order to work with our contact web context. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.